So my first question for you would be, can you please explain more about the idea of the world of doing and the world of being, and why is this chapter so important?
Well, I realized that it is so important for people not to be confused between what they want to do and what they feel. Because most of the time, when you ask people about their feeling, or they feel depressed, or they feel anxious, or they feel stressed, they question normally is, what should I do? In order to practically helping people, I decided to explain the concepts of the world of doing and the world of being. I explain in the book about what do I mean by that, but generally speaking, world of being is completely unknown to people. And people mention that human being, but I suggested even in my book that they can change the human being to human doing, because nobody at the moment is interested in human being. And the people normally, when they see you, they say, how are you doing? What do you do? They are interested in other people's doing because they can compare, they can measure it, and they can understand that what they do in life somehow relates to doing. So anything, even for meditation, for relaxation, the first question always is, what am I supposed to do? How can I do meditation? How can I do relaxation? How can I get rid of depression? How can I get rid of anxiety, stress, anger problem, and being pessimistic? How can I become more optimistic, and so on? So because of that, I decided to explain this. And as I mentioned there, imagine that there are two concentric circles, and one is just infinite. It hasn't got any border around it. And the other one right in the middle of that is the very small one, and is world of doing. The reason that we mentioned that world of doing, because what people know about life, what people know about every aspect of their lives is actually based on the world of doing. So imagine that the world of doing in a stage in the middle of nowhere, everywhere is dark, and it's a stage with lights and everything there, with the spotlights, and then people suddenly, they find themselves on the stage. And on the stage, in order to be on the stage, they need to have at least one mask. Because without mask, you cannot be on the stage of the world of doing. And when we say world of doing, is what people normally mean by world. The world is the world of doing for them. In the world of doing, you accept the mask and you start, but that's not going to be the only mask that you have. And you're going to have several masks because you perform on that stage, which is the world of doing. You perform, and that performance called your normal daily life. So people can perform as a mother, perform as a father, perform as a husband, wife, children, friend, so many different kind of performances is going on, and sometimes even people using 4, 5, 6, 10 masks at the same time. Because, as I promised in our book, everything needs to be practical. I didn't want just to give them some kind of philosophical ideas about this is world of doing, this is world of being, but the reason that I needed to clarify this, it was because the base, the rules and all the explanation that we have about the rules of the masks and the problems that people deal with is based on this idea, the idea of world of being and world of doing. I call it an idea because at the moment it's not, for people, it's not related to their being, it's not related to their normal daily life. So they look at that and they listen to me and look at this as an idea, as an opinion. When they experiment and they start to feel it, then it's not my opinion anymore, it becomes their experience. Generally speaking, world of doing, whatever you do, anything that you see in civilization around you is based on world of doing. Because in a world of doing, a baby becomes a child becomes a teenager becomes a young person, and the young person carries on, becomes a fully adult, and then gradually middle-aged and old. So in every stages of their lives, they have certain things that they need to do. And how do they know what to do, what not to do? It comes with the most providers that they accept. Their parents tell them what to do. Education and teachers ask them what to do, what not to do. Government will tell them what to do, what not to do, and so on. So when people really, really get confused between their feelings that is really, really relate to their being with what they do, and it's when they get confused and they cannot distinguish these two worlds, because of that, they become so confused and they don't know what to do. That's why that I explained that one in the book. And generally speaking, world of doing consists of whatever you do, all the techniques, all the knowledge, all the scientific knowledge, philosophical knowledge, art, what you need to do, all the stages of life people have and experience, and everything that they go on the stage of society and they perform as an engineer, as a teacher, as a doctor, as a bus driver, all these is part of the world of doing. So when people are on a world of doing, on the stage, they don't see anything else around them. The darkness is darkness and they don't know what else is around them. So they focus on what they do. So there's certain problems happen because their feelings showing them something else and they don't know what to do with that. So because of that, I decided to separate them just to explain and then give people some ideas that there are certain things, there's nothing to do with what you can do. There's certain things are just based on what you do. So those things that there's nothing to do with doing, it goes back to your realization, to the state of your mind and awareness. It is not about doing. So in order to give you an example, imagine that you are playing with few kids and these kids just pretend that they are making some tea and actually they have some containers with them, some mugs and saucers and things, but there is no tea into that. And they give you tea and you're playing with them. In order to impress them, you pretend that they have some tea. And then you start to drink the tea, say, yes, thank you, fantastic, that is really, really good. You're playing with them and you don't disturb them. You allow them to play. In that moment, imagine that this play and these kids are sitting inside of a football stadium, completely unaware of what's going on. There is a match there, and both sides, both team supporters, actually they're trying to make noises and they're interacting with the situation and atmosphere of the play, the football that is going on, the game. But these kids are completely unaware of that. But you playing with them, and at the same time, you're aware of the game that is going on around you. You're aware that some people are making noises, some people are happy, some people are not happy. At the same time, you don't need to do anything. You still carry on playing with these kids, but your awareness allows you to understand that this stadium is inside of city, inside of London, for example. So you don't need to do anything to become aware of London or aware of that stadium. And then you understand that the London is part of England and England is part of Britain. So in that case, that is part of Earth, and Earth is part of the whole universe. So in order to become aware of all these circles, one after another, you don't need to do anything. It's just your awareness, nothing else there. So back to that game that is going on, you can play that game and also doing some other things with the other games that are going on there without being confused between them. So that's why I realized that so many psychological and emotional disorders and diseases relate to this confusion. because people really don't know who they are behind the masks. Behind the mask, people live in the world of being. They exist there. But in order to perform in the world of doing, they need one mask, and most of the masks are very respectful. You don't have to, deny them. You don't have to put them down. You need to play the game, but in order to avoid any kind of confusion and any kind of problems, you need to become aware of the world of being, of the stage in darkness. And we discuss in other parts of the chapters of the book, and we explain that more.
So how does this idea work with time and memory?
Well, we're going to explain later more about time and memory, because when you accept a mask, this mask needs to be continuously performed. So you need to carry on performing the masks that you accept. Without memory, it's impossible. And memory needs time, because time is imaginary. Time is only a concept of things happening one after another. And if you don't have any past or present or future, you don't have any concept of time. Imagine that now we are making a video and we're getting video clips, but when you want to edit them, you need to have a timeline. In order to have a timeline, you need just to put them on timeline, and something becomes before what you have in your mind, and something becomes after. So we have that imagination of the past, present, and the future. Why? Because when you go to sleep, all your masks disappear. You don't have any masks. And the next day you wake up and you have your masks, and you need to continuously carry on doing the same things that you were doing on a stage in order to continuously perform in that mask. Masks need memory. And memory without time haven't got any meaning. So there is nothing to do with existence, because a baby, for example, a newborn baby exists. And in response to everything, you smile, they smile, you pinch them, they cry. If they need food, they cry. If they are happy and dry and fed very well, they smile and happy, they don't cry. But they don't have any memory, because memory starts with accepting the first mask. When you start to accept the first mask as daughter or son of some people, then that's the first part of the memory, first time that the memory starts. And the memory starts on a timeline. So we needed time. We needed to create time in order to make memory to happen. So our consciousness as individual person needed time in order to support memory, and needed memory in order to support the masks, because masks without memory cannot perform. So from the beginning, absolutely everything is fine, because what we call it science, knowledge, even what people call it wisdom, they used to call it wisdom, is some kind of knowledge of the past. Because whatever you learn is learning from the past. And you try to apply it right now, and if you can add anything to that and leave it for the future generation also come back to that as the past. So if you don't know how to use your imagination, you ask somebody based on the past. For example, that you never know what does that island mean. I ask you, have you been to an island? And you say, what is an island? And I go back to your memory, everything about the past, and saying, have you ever seen a piece of land? And you say, yes. Have you ever seen a sea or ocean or somewhere, lots of water? And you say, yes. So imagine that a piece of land is surrounded by water. And you use your imagination and you say, yes, that's good. So the reason that we mentioned that in this, because further later on, that we're going to explain that how memory and imagination start to be used against people. Whereas these two phenomena are amazing. These are amazing ability of the mind, ability of the brain to create that wonder, and all the knowledge, everything, all these equipments and everything is just built based on that memory, based on that knowledge, and based on that imagination, because memory gives you the access to the knowledge of the past, and imagination that allows you to design things for the future. And the time is between them, is imaginary things, it's just going between them. But the problem is, the past, as you grow up, the past becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and larger and larger and larger. And then because it gets larger, your imagination also gets more and more and more. And whatever happened in the past, if you cannot get rid of it, it stays in your mind, it causes depression, and your imagination and what's going to happen in the future, that can create anxiety. And unfortunately, people's feelings of present moment is a very little tick in a clock between the past and the future. So every time future comes to the present moment, which is very narrow, and tick, and becomes past. And what are we going to do with the present moment? Nothing. Whereas our body, our mind, in our consciousness in general, our body and consciousness has no choice except staying in present moment. Because we live now. We cannot live yesterday, we cannot live tomorrow. But when it comes to the mind cannot stay in the present moment because it's very much fascinated by the past or influenced by the past. And they're very much fascinated by imagination, what's going to happen in the future, and predictions, and everything is about future because they think if there is any good prediction, it's not going to be any anxiety because I can predict what's going to happen. And before the future comes and becomes past, I already know because I have certain kind of patterns from the past. This confusion has caused lots of problems for people because the concept of memory and imagination is absolutely brilliant ability of human brain. Because you remember whatever you learned, and you can apply it and imagine different kind of patterns from the future, and you can just design better future in everything, in technology, in science, in education, in health, in everything. But the problem is, in a moment that you need to stop using your brain and back to your feelings, and as I mentioned before in the last chapter, you need to zoom out. In that moment, you need to connect with life, and the connection is in the present moment, and people have no ability because whatever you ask how, it just goes to the past. Because even languages is based on the past. You know, English is my second language, and if I want to talk to you about anything, I need to go back to whatever I have in my memory and learned in the past. If I use certain languages or certain words that I never learned or you never know from the past, that we cannot communicate with each other. So communication is based on the past, and people's feelings should be based on now, but people's feelings also is being somehow influenced by the past, because a friend comes to you, for example, and says very, very lovely things about you, and they give you some drugs and saying, come on, you're my friend, try this one. This friend is your enemy, is giving you some poison. But maybe another person comes there and not uses nice words, but banging on your hand and taking everything from your hand and call you idiot, stupid, something, and you're going to be offended and your feeling is going to be against that person, whereas that person is your friend. So why? Because your mind is conditioned by words, by whatever you experienced in the past. And you cannot connect with the feelings. Feelings belong to now. So there is a huge confusion about that. And I don't want to just make it too boring at this stage, but I want to just explain. It's very simple. In the world of doing, you need at least one mask to start. and so many masks to carry on. In order to carry on and use the masks, you need memory. Because otherwise you cannot every day become a different person. I mean, you don't remember you needed to pay the bill from yesterday, and you need to remember that. And then memory needs timeline. And a timeline means very useful past, some usefulness that you find for the future, and very useless from their point of view, not my point of view, very useless and tiny and narrow present. And that is the problem, because you need to live in that very narrow space there. And that narrow space that became narrower and narrower and narrower as people grow and people get older, is narrower and narrower. It causes problems like depression, anxiety, anger problem, and the rest of the problems that happen there.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. But what are the practical implications of this? What solutions can we use from this?
You see that later on we're going to explain about what do we mean by the past, future, and the present, and how does it work with that, relate to the world of doing and being. But I need to say something here that it could be quite strange for people, because we've been taught by our parents, by our education and teachers, that our present time is the result of the past. Because if you try to understand that something, what is going on, what is happening right now, you need just to go back to the past and go back to the history of that. For example, if you want to understand Earth, you need to go back to the past and figure out what happened to Earth as a planet. If you want to understand a car, you need to go back to the first design and then how that design carried on and developed over time, and you come to the present moment of that car, and then you know the car. So if you need to understand life, you need to go back again to the past and then examine all the documents, all the theories, all the ideas, everything that is being progressed or not progressed, and examine them, learn about them, come to the present moment in order to understand life. But it actually is the other way around. It's actually the present moment is the result of the past. Because it's not past making present, it's present making past. And whatever you do at the moment, by tomorrow it becomes your past. So your past is a result of what you do right now. Past doesn't exist to do anything with today. For example, you say, I left that water there yesterday. Now I can go back to that and drink the water. So that's from the past. But this is illusion. Because water that you left there yesterday, that water existed in the present moment. And today, when you go to that water, it still is in present moment. Because if it is not there, you remember the water was there from yesterday. You cannot drink the water from yesterday. You cannot feed yourself from food from last week. If that food that you keep it in a freezer from last week still exists in the present moment, then yes, you can do things with the present moment. But it's not about the philosophical part of that. I know it's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit upside down for people to think in that way. But what's the practical implications of this? In the world of doing, when you understand that your present moment is the only thing that you have, all the tools, all the changes, anything you want to do with your life is right now with you. When people believe that their present moment is the result of the past, what happens is, whenever you ask them for any changes, any habits, any bad habits they need to get rid of, any good habits they want to carry on, not from my point of view, there are no good habits. Habits are bad anyway. But they call it bad habits, like smoking or something. They always go to the past. They blame certain things like genetic things, bad friends, bad family, poor family, lack of money, something in their past. And then when it comes to the present moment, they said, well, I cannot do anything because this is the result of the past. Whereas it's the other way around. If somebody says, I started smoking because I was with some bad friends, if you, in the past, you trusted bad people, that still is with you. Still you can trust bad people. Because if you stop doing that, you can change whatever you want in your life right now. That gives you the ability, everything that you need to change your life, everything that you need to make progress in your life is with you right now. There is nothing to do with the past. If you had a bad family, influenced you with the bad ideas, if you had a poor family, they couldn't pay for your education or whatever you needed to do in your life, you can change it right now. You can change that. How? By finding what is available right now, rather than sitting and blaming the past. So the practical side of that enables people, immediately people can relate to that. And immediately there is something that they can do right now. But if they're under illusion that they and also because scientists, put them under illusion to say, your present moment is the result of the past, you've done something in the past, and now it's just coming to this. No, these are just something happened in the past, and in the past it was your present moment. Yesterday, when it was yesterday, it was your today, and today is your today. Yes? So if you didn't do anything yesterday, you need to understand why you didn't do it yesterday. Let's say that you were lazy yesterday. And today you are lazy. So if you are not lazy today, anything you want to do with your life, start today, right now. So tomorrow, you already changed your past. Because today becomes your past, and tomorrow you realize that, change has already started. So anything that people want to do, anything that they want to do in order to improve their life, outside or inside, it doesn't matter. They need to start today. Because your today is the only reality that you have. You have no choice by living in present moment and in today. All of us live only for one day. Precisely 1 second. But let's say 1 day, today. And if you have that calendar in your mind, and it's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're not going to be under influence of other people's experience. Your calendar in your mind is going to be today, 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 today. But obviously when you go to a meeting, when you are going to pay your bills, when you're just paying to your bank, you need to remember to pay on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, October, November, whatever. You use that calendar, but you shouldn't allow that calendar to influence your feelings there. Because people call it Monday a miserable Monday because they go back to work. And they said, thank God it's Friday. Yes? Thank God it's Friday. And there is a brand actually giving people some sandwiches. Thank God it's Friday. Why? Because on Friday, they're thinking tomorrow is beginning of weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I don't need to work. So they are happy. But when it comes to Sunday afternoon, usually they believe that Sunday at 4, 5 o'clock is a depressing time because they start to think, well, tomorrow the work starts. And some people start to drink, some people start to use drugs, some people start to watch movies not to think about the next day. Whereas every day is just every day. And I've seen over 40 years that people with just painting days in their mind to say this is a bad day, this is a good day, this is a bad week, this is a good month. All of them are the same. You have only 1 day to live. If you have only 1 day to live, imagine that all the doctors in the world, they come and tell you by end of today, at night, you will die. So, morning, you want to go and waste your time, you want to fight with people, you want to be so kind to people, you want to experience your life, you want to be very responsive to weather, to flowers, to your work, to your customers, to improve your services, improve in a goods that you provide, or you want to waste your time and being, depressed because this is my last day. It's up to you. It's up to you. So in that case, it just works practically, because when you realize you don't need to do something to live in the present moment, you have no choice. You're already in present moment. You cannot live in the past. You cannot eat something that existed in the past if it doesn't exist right now. It's nothing to do with the past. You learn from the past, okay, that's fine. You learn about the patterns from the past, that's okay. But present moment is right this moment that you're living in, and you have no choice but being in the present moment. So there is no future. There is no past. But obviously when you design, when you use your imagination, there is nothing wrong with imagining something that you want to do or plan something for tomorrow. That's absolutely fine. When it comes to feeling your life, something that makes you depressed, if you disconnect with that, disconnecting with your heart, it just causes depression for you. Feeling down, feeling low energy, feeling tired, because your mind is busy what you're going to do tomorrow, what you should have done before. And in that case, that you realize, by realizing that you live in the present moment and your past is a result of the present, you suddenly start to become enabled to do whatever you want to do. One of the examples that, for example, I had a patient years ago, and it was a very nice lady with a very bad back. And when she came back, and when she came for the treatment after a couple of sessions, I realized that we cannot get anywhere. We cannot make any progress. And because of that, I asked her, do you think that you want to get better? You really, really want to get better? And she looked at me like if I'm crazy because I pay you, I just come there for the treatment. Of course I want to get better. And I said, my understanding, based on my experience and my understanding of your energy, somehow you have some kind of resistance against getting better. Why is that? Why my feeling is showing me you don't want to get better. Then in that moment, she burst into tears and cried, and she said, actually, I don't want to get better because I had a son, 2 years old, and we tried for pregnancy for 7 years. And my husband and I, we loved this boy, our son, and he passed away last year. He passed away at the age of 2. Even doctors told me that it wasn't my fault, but it was my first child, and I still blame myself that maybe I couldn't take care of him properly. And unfortunately, after a few months, the game of blame actually started. When you started blaming each other, I blamed my husband. You were not there. You were too busy with work. And he said, you probably didn't know what to do. So now we are separated with my husband at the top of the problem there. And I've been seeing psychologists and counselors and getting counseling, but it's not really helping. I believe I deserve to have pain. I don't deserve to get better because my son passed away, died. And I looked at the clock and I realized we had only 15 minutes out of the time that we had for treatment. So I said to her, look, let me tell you something. I'm sure that you're still keeping your son's clothes, I guess. And she said, yes, I haven't given to any charities or anything. And I said, I'm sure that you're still keeping his toys. She said, yes, I keep the toys there. And I said, why is that? Why you are keeping these things? Do you think by protecting them, somehow you're still protecting your son, by protecting his clothes, by protecting his toys, something that belongs to him, you're still protecting him? Is that a nice feeling? She said, yeah, I think so. Because it not only reminds me of him, but also it gives me that kind of feeling, no, I need to protect these clothes. These belong to my son. So in that case, that gives me some kind of feeling that I'm protecting him. I said, okay, but you forgot to protect something much more important than his clothes and his toys. And she was just looking at me. I said, look, the most important thing that belongs to a child is their mother. You forgot to protect his mother. And you are giving him a bad name. He was an angel. At the age of 2 years, age of 2, he passed away. But people gonna say, because he passed away, look at his mother. His mother is so depressed, so angry, not creative anymore. Is not able to carry on normal life. But if you protect his mother, if you take care of yourself as his mother, I'm sure you will have children in the future. And then you can one day saying to your children, the reason that you have a mother is because of your brother. Because I tried to protect your brother's mother, which is me. And that's why now you have life. I'm your mother. You came to the world and I protected you and I love you. And those also children gonna love their brother forever. So he deserved a good name and he deserved to receive this kind of respect by protecting his mother. But I said it was something she could do right in present moment. Nothing to do with the past. Nothing to do with the future. Yes, of course, that little baby passed away in the past. But it was nothing to do with the past. Nothing to do with the future. But there are lots of things to do with now. And she started to think in that 10-15 minutes that we had, I carried on with the treatment of the bag, and she didn't say anything. And she at the end said, actually, you're right. Yeah, I need to do that. I have to do it. I will. I definitely will do it. And then she came back following week and no pain, no backache, no problems there. And for a while I was seeing her once a month. So she went back to the counselor and said, I don't need any counseling anymore, thank you. I feel really good. And the counselor said, how did it happen? He said, I talked to my therapist and my therapist said, all you can do is with present moment, with now. And that changes everything. The past doesn't exist, but the reactions that people get to the past exist. And by doing this, she stopped that negative reactions because nothing is negative or positive. It depends on what we do with that. And what we do with things that happened in the past is actually taking place in the present moment. Something happens and people call it bad, that happened in the past, yesterday. What would you do with that today? That decides if that event was negative or positive. If it gives you more experience, if it gives you better ideas, if you become more creative to prevent it to happen again, so it was positive that happened. If it takes your energy away, it makes you sad and depressed, so it's negative. So you decide today all the things that happened in the past to become positive or negative. And that is the power of present moment. Not by doing something. People think, what can I do to be in present moment? That's the wrong question. You need to realize you are in the present moment. You need to realize there is no choice. You cannot live in tomorrow or yesterday, not even this morning. You need to realize that your life is in present moment, is right now. Is impossible to be in anywhere else at any other time there. Time is an illusion, helping you with your memory, with your imagination, and that is based on world of doing and being. When we say world of being is out of time. There is no timeline for that. And when you realize that, when you get that feeling, all the stresses and the problems that come usually with time, like depression from the past and anxiety from the future, or you had some result in the past that was different from your expectation and makes you angry. And when you become angry, you make more mistakes today. You waste your energy. You waste all the energy that you could use it to become more creative. You just lose that one there. Your vital energy, your chi, your vital energy start to go down, and you feel down. You feel less happy. You feel depressed. All these things go away. So in order to do that, in order to be able to perform wonderfully on the world of doing, you need to become aware, not doing anything, aware of world of being. So that's why I gave that example that imagine that this stage is inside of the prison. And inside of the prison, you absolutely have no idea you are in prison. And you absolutely have no idea about inside, outside. Because if you've never been outside, you never have the concept of inside. You think that this is life. That's it. So you see and you learn from people around you. Can you go to a better cell? Can you go to a wider cell? Can you go from this one to another part of prison that is more luxurious, easier to live? All these techniques enable people to, why people need more water, why people need more food, why people need more clothes. All these things just make life easier inside of the prison. Why people need more advice about relaxation, about music, about art, about relationship, just make life easier inside of prison. So I'm not giving people any advice to say, okay, I can make life easier for you in prison. I just made some suggestions, but with the hope that everything that we ask people to do in the world of doing, or we suggest them to do, give them the idea of, okay, I close my eyes and I feel there is a door is open and I need to get out of that door. But because if they come to the door, they're going to be so anxious because they don't know what is outside of the door. So with this company, the Ineffable Group, we give them a window, little window that they can look before they open the door. They can look outside and see how does it feel. And then if it feels right, if it feels okay, and we are not the only windows, there's so many lovely people that they are doing that right now, helping others not to be afraid of present moment. But we have also some suggestions. We're adding to the menu another option. And then people are not going to be anxious by opening the door because we give them a little window. But window doesn't do anything. We just give them some kind of feelings there. What I suggested in this book is just creates a window by relaxation for them. And in the moment that they decide to open the door and get out of the stage, they can get off the stage, feel the world of being there, which is meditation, and then come back on the stage and perform very well without being under stress, without having any problems. That is the main practical side of mentioning the world of doing and the world of being. I'm not saying the world of doing is bad, is negative, it's amazing. As they call it in Hinduism, Maya is the big show, is magic, is unbelievable. People appreciate that and they become happy with the problems that they have. They solve the problems and they become stronger by solving the problems. They become more creative and they start loving everything that they see and everything that they feel and everything that they work with. That's the optimum love that they have for the world of doing. Because it's beautiful, it's nice, and that people really, really look forward in the morning to wake up and make life easier for others.
So we've established that being in the present moment is very important.
Yes.
But because this is such a new concept to people, how do people get the motivation to practice being in the present moment and not being lazy and revert back to their old ways of being?
So you see, in the world of doing, one of the things that people always need to do something is motivation. Motivation can come from other people, come out from Muscle providers that in other chapters of the book we're going to explain to them. They always need to think about some benefits. The benefits that they think, what are the benefits of doing these things there? And by thinking about those benefits, they normally get the motivation. You know, for example, if you do this, you're going to get certain amount of money. If you do that, you get certain qualifications. And all these awards and rewards and other systems is just generally to give people motivation. But there are certain kind of movements that when people understand and they start to feel the world of being, they don't need any motivation. They're going to naturally do things. based on the inner wisdom. Because outside, when you use your brain based on the patterns, based on your personal experience, based on your education, based on your skills that you have, you start to think about it. What's the benefit of doing this? Why should I do that? And how can I do it? Either better, with saving energy, with saving time, with saving money, with different, saving money, saving energy, saving time, saving, all these savings, actually good motivation for people to do something. But what we are saying is there is nothing wrong with what people do in a world of doing, but in a world of being, by feeling in that way, they benefit from being in a present moment, realizing that they are in a present moment, and they start to deal with it. When they see the benefits, it feels like that they are doing everything in the right way, and it saves them lots of energy and lots of time. Because if they go to the past and they try to analyze the past, and then they come back to the present moment is very tiny, and they cannot even live in it. Even when they are eating, they are remembering the name of the food, what they had in that food, when they had it in the past. They're not really connecting with the food. So lack of connection, it just needs more communication. They need to ask someone else to tell them what to eat, someone else to tell them what exercises to do, every single time that someone needs to tell them to do something. So what we say is, by saving time, by saving energy into them and making life easier. This is so important, and I'm glad that you asked this question. By talking about these concepts that we mentioned to people, if they want to experiment, it's not like, okay, at the top of my normal daily life, that I need to take my children to school, I need to do my job, I need to do household things there, housework, the jobs, paying the bills. At the top of everything, I cannot just sit down and meditate. I cannot do that. I cannot even go into extra things to thinking about, now I need to contemplate about the world of doing and world of being. No. The concept that you're mentioning in this book, if people want to experiment, at the end of the day, they should have extra time, extra energy. So that saves you time and energy. It doesn't take extra energy to do these things there. And that is, I believe, that it encourages them to do more and more and more. Because if you imagine that you do 20 different things, and then lack of time, because nowadays people always, you ask them why you're not doing exercises, they say, I don't have any time. Why you don't do any relaxation or sit down for meditation or something, they say, I don't have any time. Because of this lack of time, if you do these things, then you do all these 20 things, and still you're going to have extra time at the end of the day. Because what we say is actually giving you some tools to do the job better. So, for example, that some people come to me and they say, could you please help us? I want to feel my life in the present moment. Could you please help us? Give us some advice. And imagine I ask them, okay, do you have some rice at home? You can eat rice. And they said, yes. And do you have fork? Yes, I have everything at home. Can you just loosen up some kind of screws from the wall and walk for 5 minutes and play the piano for 5 minutes? Just very simple things to do. You don't need even to play a song. Just press the keys in any way that you like. 5 minutes non-stop. And 5 minutes walk. And have your plate of rice in 5 minutes. And then loosen up, one screw in 5 minutes, and you come back. And then I will help you. So people go and they come back after a month, because I expect them to come back after 1 hour and tell me that they've done it. They come back after months and they said, look, it's very difficult. I cannot even finish my rice in 1 week, a plate of rice. I cannot even a little bit loosen up a screw in 5 minutes. It takes ages, and all my hands are bleeding because of that. I can't walk now after a month. I can't walk maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but not 5 minutes. And playing the piano, you must be joking. Even I cannot even non-stop. I cannot play more than 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I need to rest. So this is just an example. When I go to examine that, I realize they have a screwdriver, they have a piano, they have shoes to go for work, and they have a fork, but they try to eat their rice with a screwdriver. They try to loosen up that screw with a fork, and they try to walk on their hands and play the piano by their toes. And that's why they're so difficult. So the basic things, why is upside down? Exactly because of thinking the present is the result of the past. Everything is upside down. My father had something genetically in him, so that's why I keep smoking, because my father was smoking. I smoke too. I cannot do anything about it. It's upside down, because what I can do right now, I can put it down there and not doing it. Because I'm doing it right now, so I can stop doing it right now. I don't need anything from the past. I don't need it. That enables people to experiment more. And I believe when they experiment more and they realize, oh, for a simple habit, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of hours to just get rid of the habit, like smoking. All you need is just 1 second and that's it done. But we are showing them how. Because when you are in present moment, you feel everything that you can do right now and everything that stops you from doing what you want to do right now. Study the future, study the past is just something imaginary. Study the past, it just goes to books and other people's ideas, which is very useful, very good, but is imaginary because right now the situation is new. And if the situation is new, you cannot use anything from the past. Only certain patterns can be used. And I'm not saying they are not useful, but they are imaginary. And any ideas about future also is imaginary. So if I tell you, you do this because you go to paradise, I'm just using my imagination, and I explain to you paradise is this, and if you do these things that I ask you to do, you will go to that. That's also imaginary. But everything that you can do to improve your life is right now here with you. And that is the power of feeling the world of being and have your consciousness in a way that is aligned with the whole universe. And you're not afraid of the darkness around that stage that you're performing on that world of doing. Whatever you find life difficult, you just leave your masks on that. Just go to the darkness around there. You recharge your batteries, you come back to your masks, and you perform again. And that's the main benefit. But we need to come back to this world of being and doing so many times in other chapters. But in general, back to your question, we don't need to give people any motivation. But if we want to encourage them, I think the encouragement comes from the result that they see. It saves them lots of energy, lots of time, lots of money, everything. Because, for example, giving up smoking 1 second. They want to start doing exercises, they can decide to do it right now. No problem, today. And whatever you do today, it makes a huge difference in your life. Whatever you wanted to do yesterday, but you haven't done it, it makes you depressed. Whatever you might do in the future, it also makes you depressed. I had a patient, actually, I have permission from her to use this example, but without mentioning her name. And she came to me, she said, look, if my birthday is coming up, I'm going to drink, I'm going to use drugs in that party, but I promise my body and I promise you, I'm going to do detoxification after that. So, in the past, she has done that. So that comes from the past. She wants to do it right now in the party, and in the future, she's going to do some detoxification. That is exactly what people think. I'm going to start from Monday. I'm going to start running from Monday. But now is weekend. It's okay. I drink and I smoke and I do whatever I want to do. When I finish this one, I'm gonna give up all these things and I go back. That tomorrow never comes. Because our life is made of todays. Todays. It's today, 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 today. If you don't do anything today, that never comes. Okay? And I said to this patient, to this lovely lady, imagine that you have a partner, you have a husband or boyfriend, and he says, look, I have booked a holiday, very amazing luxury holiday. In Hawaii, in somewhere very nice. Very luxury, amazing, in 2 months' time. Are you happy? You say, yes, of course I am happy. That is really, really good. And he says, until then, I every day punch you, burn you, cut you, and torture you. Are you still going to be happy with that? And she said, no. I'm going to call him a crazy person. No, I don't want to. You cut me, you burn me, you torture me. But one day you're going to take me on holiday. And I said, but that is exactly what you do with your body. You say, I'll torture you with poison. I'm going to put you in a very bad situation by putting drugs in your lungs. I'm going to put alcohol in your stomach and in your kidneys and in your bloodstream. I'm going to torture you, punch you, and causing lots of pain and problems. But very soon, I'm going to start detoxification. In that example, you understand what your husband or partner is going to do in the future. But in reality, your body doesn't understand anything that you are promising. You're promising is only your mind. And your body even doesn't understand what you're going to do detoxification. Your body is just dealing with today. And we always asking someone else to deal with that. Because I don't want to deal with my body today, I need to go to a doctor and ask them to deal with my body today. So back to your question, it's actually when people realize by working on today, by realizing today is the only time that they have, and by feeling the world of being, but get rid of that imaginary past and future, they become enabled to do lots of things today with their life. Because there is no point if people living in the past or in the future asking them to do goal setting, go for it, you can do it, please do it, why not? They just burn out all the energy that they have. But when you just help them to be in the present moment, you already enabled them. They already start to activate certain programs that they already have in their mind and in their existence. I don't want even to separate their body from their mind. Thank you for asking questions. And hopefully that people, by reading that chapter, they realize this chapter is really one of the most important foundation of the book.